Hi, everybody. Welcome to the PhD Journey Unplugged podcast. We are at episode 74 today. And as you can see, I'm not by myself today. I have a guest. Okay, so I have with me Chris Newport. Welcome, Chris.
Hi,
Chris
excited to
is,
be here.
thank you. Chris is the founder of the Endurance Edge. And we're going to talk about what that means.
Oh yeah,
And get to know you on the show today. And we're going to focus on this question of what are we training for?
totally.
And,
I love that.
training to flourish, the journey of healthy aging. So we're going
Yeah.
to dive into what that all means. I always find when I introduce my guests, you're very humble in the accomplishments that you've achieved in your life. I,
Thank you.
I, yeah, I intentionally love to invite people on the show who demonstrate just really living our best lives and helping other people achieve that as well. And that's why I have you on the show today. So thank you for joining me.
Yeah, excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so Chris is located in North Carolina,
hmm
and you're a registered dietitian nutritionist,
hmm
exercise physiologist, endurance coach,
hmm
certified sports nutritionist, and you spent more than 25 years helping athletes and active adults better understand the relationship between nutrition, recovery, performance, and long-term health. And I don't even remember how we originally connected, but
I think you were emailing because you were maybe you were looking for female Ironman athletes or something like that.
something.
I think it was maybe to the like the USA Triathlon coaches. I remember it being somewhere in there,
Yeah, maybe
somewhere
it was my
related to
dissertation
that.
research.
Could have
And
been.
and I'm just going to say this right now because I was a little bit intimidated by you
Really?
because a little bit because
Okay.
let me tell you why. Because I
Yeah,
had just
please.
launched my podcast and when you and a lot of people were responding, and when you responded, at first I was thinking, oh, a coach, endurance athlete yourself and performance coach. And then I started to kind of, I always like to research my guests a bit. And I was like, wow, you have an established podcast. You have a
Yeah.
successful, established podcast. And I'm a newbie. And I thought, oh gosh. I think our first conversation, you were telling me all kinds of stuff and
Yeah, I think I overwhelmed you a little bit. Oh, host on this thing and do that. And you're like, oh my gosh, I think my head exploded about. But you know what? It's no different than if I were getting into triathlon and you're like, oh yeah, I've done 13 Ironmans. I would be like, oh my gosh, you're like my idol,
I know, let
you
me
know?
learn from you.
But bridging that gap, like it's totally possible, but um it's so hard to like make that leap, you
Yeah.
know. And sometimes it just takes little by little by little, and then suddenly you're kind of like there and you're like, wait, I did that, and sort of looking back and enjoying the view a little bit, which we kind of suck at.
Do you do you know I just said that in episode 73? I came
Really?
back. I did. I came back from overseas. I went to this conference over there. And everything's always it's been about achievement. It's been about achievement for a very long time for me. And I really came back and said, okay, how do you appreciate the view?
Totally.
Right? So it's interesting
Yeah.
that you just said that. It's exactly the space I'm in right now.
Yeah. It's so and as you were kind of saying some of those things, I'm like, oh, you're so accomplished or whatever. And part of me, I pushed hard for a long time. And then sometimes I had to be like, to what end? Like, do I need another certification to prove myself? And, we could go down many a rabbit hole as it relates to that. But like, what's wrong with just being a dietitian, or what's wrong with just being a coach, or like we can own our space no matter what we are labeled as or what degrees we have. You still have something to give.
So
And
you did not listen to episode 73.
I clearly need to listen to episode 70.
I don't even know how this happens. It's like you just said exactly what I just said I learned.
Okay, we're linking to episode 73 then. For me.
And that's not even really what we're going to talk about today, but in a
I
way,
think it all
kind
relates.
of
It all
is.
relates like of,
It's incredible.
my view on health is so different now than it was when I knew that I wanted to become a coach at age 15 or when I did my first triathlon at age 22 maybe. Um life that my headspace was very different. Life was very different. We, obviously didn't have the advancements that we have in AI and some of these other technologies and whatnot. But I'm finding more and more that, man, take your freaking foot off the gas pedal, like, and just like roll the window down. And, you can still do hard things and you can still, but relishing it in a little bit. And I don't know whether that tends to be, and you would probably know more than I would, tends to be more of a female thing, especially in this sport or, certainly as a female entrepreneur. I have used for many years my name is Chris to my advantage because via email, people don't know whether I'm a male or a female. And oftentimes the assumption is I'm a male.
Interesting.
And then when they get me on the phone, they're like, oh, I didn't, it's almost like, my perception of you is now instantly changing because anyway, uh, all that to say is that, we're all in the right place at the right time, getting the right lessons. And it's nice to enjoy the view.
That's amazing to start this way. And as when if you're listening, when you listen to this episode, you'll notice I was a bit nervous. And now I just feel like you just brought this like calming presence and authenticity to this conversation.
Oh,
So thank
thanks.
you
I
for
appreciate
that.
that.
I want to ask you, and let me say, I think this crosses male, female, however you identify. It's a human experience.
Mm,
I think David Brooks wrote a really good book several years ago. I can't remember the exact name of it, but basically the concept is that there's these different mountains that you climb. We climb the achievement mountain, the more degrees, more certifications, more
yeah.
this, more that. And then we get to those summits and we realize like the view doesn't necessarily look the way we anticipated it to look.
Mhm.
And then we start to climb these different mountains that just have a little bit more depth, a little bit more meaning, a little bit more how do we give back to other people? How do we cultivate communities that and help each other thrive. And
Yeah.
it's a different way to live life, like you're saying. And that episode 73 was all about me coming back from Switzerland and watching people. Now, remember, I'm observing it as a tourist, basically. So who really knows the conditions of in people's stories of their lives? But what I saw was a lot of people enjoying the day, not
Mhm.
necessarily the weekend. I was walking, during the week too, and reading a book and laughing and taking time out, and it was really nice. It was really nice to see, and I think that as a performance coach and training, we all like to train hard for goals.
Mhm.
This is an important conversation to have about how to also give yourself the grace of time to breathe and to reflect and to grow that way too.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not easy to be looking at others and assuming that you're not good enough because they're doing more. But that's not always the case, and we get more glimpses with like social media, I feel like, but only like a part of the glimpse as to what is truly going on with them. Um, and then reflecting back on our own experiences of like, oh, I'm not doing enough, or I could just be better. Or
Right.
my least favorite is when somebody comes up, like in a race situation. Let's say somebody passes me and they're like, oh, on your left, and they
Keep
come
up the
by and
good
they're like,
work.
"Isn't it just a great day?" And I'm not here to race. I'm just here to have fun. I'm like, you can keep your mouth shut now because I'm here to race. Like it's almost like they give themselves this excuse to be like, well, I'm just not, if I just in my head don't think that I'm trying hard, then maybe it's going to be okay. But at the end of the day, we're all different.
Yes.
And that is really a space that I have truly stepped into, is helping people understand their fabulous uniqueness and what that means for their training, for their nutrition, for their recovery, and helping them get out of this, I'm not doing enough or I'm not doing it right, to I'm doing it the way my body needs. And that's a very different story or mindset, however you want to spin that.
Mhm.
So that's my space at the moment.
I think that's fantastic. I think that I always say we're more alike than we're different, but even in that statement, there's a lot of individuality.
Mhm.
Physiologically, you're an exercise physiologist. Just physiologically, I just read something on social media this morning that says, let's be honest, the people who are the champions in the world, they had some genetic predisposition to get
They
there,
absolutely did.
right?
They
They had some
absolutely did.
physiology that, you
Mhm.
know, they were gifted to have. It takes a lot of hard work and it takes a lot of other things, but I think recognizing that we all have that individuality and then
Mhm.
capitalizing on that in different ways.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I love that we just jumped right into kind of like we're in like the same
Always.
space.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, let's back up just a little bit. I want our audience to know really who you are, right? And how you got here today. So let's start. You said at 15, you knew you wanted to be a coach.
Yeah.
So what did that look like? Were you an athlete then?
Oh yeah. I
Okay,
was I
let's
was
talk
like,
about that.
my bless her heart, my poor sister who's 4 years older than I am. Remember my dad was teaching her how to swing a bat, and she was probably 8. And she was getting real frustrated. She's throwing the thing down. She's sitting on the curb like, I can't do it. And I'm like, hand me the bat. Let's go. So it was a great picture of me just, standing there in my little goofy, shorts and like, let's go. Um, so also like skiing, I mean, like the kid that like makes your heart skip a beat because you're like, oh my God, they're going to die.
That was you?
That was me. Like, just like, just like down there.
Sorry.
I'm not anymore. But I think just from the get-go, it was just like, let's hang from a tree. Let's go down this mountain. Like there wasn't as much fear as certainly as there is now. But I was just kind of willing to jump in and willing to do it, and very active and love sports. And by the time I got to high school, I had this coach who was very stoic. She would just had this like straight face on all the time, and it was so hard to read her. And she would always play favorites, and she would always like just destroy her starters. Like she would put her starters in, and then she would just leave them in, and nobody off the bench got to play. Um, and I remember being, so I guess 15 would have made me probably ninth or 10th grade. And I remember being like, put me in. Like I just want to play. Like let's go. And that's when I had this sort of like aha moment of like everybody deserves to play.
Yeah, she
Everybody.
wasn't a very good coach, I don't think.
No, but
Good role model for
um,
not to be like.
certainly having that experience, I wouldn't be here having not having that
Yeah,
experience.
I get that.
Of like, okay, if in practice I just do a little bit better, maybe she'll play me. No, she wouldn't. Like it had nothing,
Right.
you just kind of like keep like, well, maybe if I do this, they'll see me more. And so having that experience young enough to be like, um, to just know that it wasn't me, it was her being set in her ways, and not being open to um different opportunities to coach people in a different way, or teaching to the just giving people a chance. um
Can I interject
but
one quick thought before
yeah,
we
of
move
course,
on
please.
from that?
Yeah.
So self-determination theory has this continuum of like from amotivation to extrinsic motivation to intrinsic motivation. So the goal is to move to more intrinsic motivation where we take autonomous actions in our life to move our life in the directions that is the most deeply fulfilling and meaningful. So this is a great example, and I'm calling this now. I've come home from my trip. I had this opportunity to learn from researchers and practitioners across the globe. I am now calling this my living laboratory.
Yes.
Okay?
So good.
Because what
Yes.
you just said is proof that here's this example that you're sitting there, you want to do this, right? And something external to you is telling you you can't do it, or they're thwarting that opportunity for you,
Yep.
right? They're shutting it down. And here you are sitting there in your mind thinking, but I want to do this. And that's where it started. And you took all these actions, and I'm so excited to hear where it came, where it went from that. You
Yeah.
took all these actions to then put in life a path that is deeply fulfilling to you because I know that
Yes.
you love your work. I know where you're at now. And
Yeah.
I think that's such a beautiful example of what this whole theoretical framework about human flourishing, about thriving is all about is taking yourself out of these external situations and taking the actions to move your life forward to find
Yeah.
purpose and meaning in your life. So I love that. So thank you for starting there.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
now let's
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that I just knew that I I can say this now without feeling like, egotistical or anything, but I have a gift of seeing something that people don't see in themselves
Okay, I
and
love that.
trying to help them bridge the gap from part A to part B.
Hmm.
And if they come to me with even this iota of like, this is really scary and I think I can, then I'm like, I know you can, and I'll bring you there. Like if you trust the process and you trust yourself,
Trust yourself.
then it can happen.
Hmm.
So I think that that is what I learned through that 15-year-old brain. And then that turned into, what do I want this to look like? So, it was a struggle going to college because I was like, okay, well, maybe it's athletic training. So I started at Purdue University. And the great part about that program, great athletic training program, they literally put you in the training room from day one. And I was like, oh, no, this isn't it.
Okay.
I was like, I don't want to be taping people's ankles and making ice bags and giving them ice baths and all that kind of stuff. I was like, maybe I want to become a physician. Of course, then that's the get a good job, Christina. You gotta make good money. So like you have all those competing voices in your head. So that I thought maybe that's what I want to do. So I ended up transferring to University of Virginia and luckily, I got there and they had this great combination of a personal training program. So I was like, yes, fitness. I love fitness and, helping people develop their bodies and minds in a different way.
Mhm.
In conjunction with, I was a peer health educator. So I was like, ooh, I also like teaching people about stuff. So that ended up becoming, turning into a job in the fitness industry and then eventually going back to school for nutrition. So that was a great way, and nutrition, exercise, phys, kind of that combo of how can we put all the pieces together? Because fitness in its silo is it's just really hard to be in a silo. Like there's so many other pieces. There's
Right.
mental performance, there's nutrition, there's recovery, there's like so many other pieces. Um,
Motivation. There's motivation.
Yes, motivation for sure.
Motivational
Um,
science.
so putting it and again, being the person who's like, I'll just get another certification. I'm like, no, at some point, you collaboration is one of our core values in the company, and yeah, at some point, I figured out like, oh, I can't do it all. I need other people to help me. Um, so that's kind of part of what we do as the company is sort of we're the team behind you of doing all these amazing things. And collaboration is key because we are so many different brains can help somebody move forward so much more like quantum leap
Hmm.
than just hey Google, how do I do a transition faster, or like What should I eat to lower my cholesterol? Like, oh gosh, like both of those questions make my skin crawl.
Well,
Yeah.
so so the name of your business is the
The
performance
endurance edge.
edge, the endurance
The
edge.
endurance
Sorry,
edge.
the
Yep.
endurance edge.
Yep.
When did that, when did you create that?
Come about.
When did
Yes,
it come?
that was 2015.
Okay.
Um, and the tagline is Your Edge to Better Performance and Health. And that was me finally getting out of my living in a silo of doing my coaching on my own and doing nutrition on my own and being like, I need a team. I want to have other people who are smarter than I am and are more skilled in various areas that I'm not skilled in,
Hmm.
and put
How
all of
many
our brains together.
how many people are on your team?
We have 8.
8. Okay.
Hope I got the head count right. Yes.
And how many individuals do you think you have trained over the years?
Oh gosh. Um, I mean, between we've had several groups come in. If you combine it with nutrition, I mean, we're probably getting up into the I was just opening our sweat testing app. Like we've got 500 people there. Um, I mean, probably 1,000 at
Thou-
least.
Thousands. So your reach is very wide, and you've been involved for a long time. I'm just trying to,
Yeah.
demonstrate to our audience that you really know what you're talking about.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And-
it's all a process. I mean, sometimes you're like, oh, well, that was wrong, and I wish I did that differently. But like,
Well, open to
you can't put
learning.
it back. For sure.
So the people that you've trained over the years, and I'll tell you where I'm kind of taking this, but I just want to
Yeah.
ask you the questions to learn more
Yeah.
about you. How many showed up trained and ready, and how many started as beginners, or you've seen it all, I bet.
Oh, yeah. Uh, Both. I mean, yeah. Like, like today, the guy who I had a swim lesson with, he's like, I learned how to swim when I was like probably 5, but like I never lap swam until April. And so then I'm going, oh gosh, what's this going to look like? And he's just one of those super fast learners, um, who has just great kinesthetic awareness
Hmm.
and responds to feedback very easily. Now, I've had people in similar situations. It's always interesting where they come from, like how they get into it. Um, we've had people who are like, "Oh yeah, I heard David Goggins' podcast, and I'm going to do Ironman." I'm like, okay, have you ever done a triathlon? They're like, no. I'm like, okay, we're going. You shooting for the stars, cool. And then they get in the pool and show up with like their kids' goggles and like, a pair of just like lounge board shorts, and which is fine. Wear what you
Hey,
want to wear. It's
start where
all
you got to
good.
start.
Start where you got to start, but like made it halfway down the pool and stood up and was like, that's all I got. And I was like, okay, we have a little bit to go for 2.4 miles. So, so yeah, but I've seen quite a vast array of, gosh, we had one woman. I love her story. She came in and I mean, we literally had her on the edge of the pool, and all she did was just blow bubbles, come up, blow bubbles, come up, blow bubbles, come up, and we got her through a triathlon. But that's how she started. So everyone comes from a different place. Some super new, and some who have gone down the road a little bit. Maybe they fail a little bit, and they're like, I know I got more in the tank than train me. So it's a really cool combination of a little bit of everything, except pros. We don't work with pros. So,
So here's my question. With all of that, and I'm just curious because I'm all about exercise motivation and obviously now self-determination theory. At what point when you train something and can you see it, it becomes their own? Because you're the guide,
yeah,
but ultimately, and I always love to say like the coach can give you the structure,
yep,
but the discipline and has to come from within, and then the desire and the purpose still has to come from within. So do you
yeah.
see that kind of transform in that process?
Yes. And everybody is so unique. Um, I saw that in a swimmer yesterday, and swimming is just fresh on my brain because it's so much easier to have you're like contained in the
Right,
pool, or
right.
even in the
Yes.
open water. Like it's just so much easier to have eyes on someone versus like if you go off for a ride, people just they scatter based on how fast they're going, etc. Um, but yeah, just watching people who are like, man, I remember when you started. And I oftentimes, even though if they're not coming in for a specific swim analysis, I will videotape them the very first time I see them because then I save that for 3, 4, 6, 12, 18 months down the road when they're like, here I am doing a half Ironman, or here I am swimming 1,500 meters. And like they just transform. They're just different athletes. And they do eventually start to take it on themselves. And
Cool, right?
yeah, it's so cool. And I mean, that's why I do it
I mean,
for
that's
all your
ultimately
cool
the
theories
goal.
that you study.
Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately the goal. It's like when you learn to ride a bike and somebody's holding on that bike, but
Yeah,
eventually you're riding the bike, as a
yeah,
kid, you're learning the confidence to do it on your
yeah.
own.
And
Yeah,
that's the cool part
cool.
about coaching is that it's an evolution. It may
Hmm.
be more teaching or guiding or instructional or skill based at the front end,
Hmm.
but then it transitions to something totally different. And I love that evolution of, from start through the whole process of what they accomplish next and where they go next and how your role changes. In fact, I just finished working with, it's probably been maybe 6 or 8 months with an athlete who, it was like time for he's just really struggling with a particular injury that he couldn't quite get over. And when I could tell it was like time to break up, and I'm like, listen, we're not really, and we haven't really gotten anywhere in so long. We have to address this. And that does not mean you're hurting my feelings. That's part of the journey.
Hmm.
Is that for
Yeah.
now we separate, and maybe we end up coming together again, and maybe we don't, and that's okay. And I think that's just such a great evolution of somebody's journey in their sport or sports, and the coaching process, and how that brings us to like a next level. It's so cool.
I think that's a really healthy perspective. I haven't really done a podcast episode on like like coaching per
Yeah,
se. It's usually the
yeah.
perspectives of coaches to teach us and educate us on how to live our best lives. But as my in my perception of a good coach, and if you go back to your 15-year-old experience as a coach, I think you have a really beautiful perspective on coaching because it's like you're not holding on to somebody for your own personal satisfaction. You're giving them the
Mhm.
skill set to then go out and grow,
Yeah,
however they choose. And I think that's
yeah.
really great. And I've heard many times from people who have used triathlon and the triathlon experience, especially the Ironman experience. And most people don't get to an Ironman without a coach. I've learned that too. Most people have a
Mhm.
coach to get them to the Ironman because they
Yeah,
understand it, they understand the science, and they're there to support you. But I've heard so many times how much it changes people.
yeah,
Just changes their life completely.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's cool.
It's such a leap. And I see it with nutrition too. At the front end, it might be like, okay, well, we got to work on this much protein. We got to work on, changing this habit. We got to do this. And then over time, it turns into more um, accountability. And sometimes I have some clients, we don't even talk about food. It's just something about like, I just need to know that you're there, and I just need to be reminded. Like I have a client that I've had for probably 3 years now, and we met yesterday. Her mother just passed away, and that's a lot. It's a lot to take on, and we just had to be reminded about like have you hydrated today?
Right. Something just simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um,
Basic.
yeah, it's, and nutrition, we call it nutrition through the life cycle. I mean, it's no different than your nutrition's going to be different if you're training for Ironman versus if you're injured or if you're menopausal or if like, and that's okay. It also doesn't have to be drastic and crazy. Like you can keep it simple, but sometimes you just need somebody to remind you or somebody to be there like, oh, right, right. I don't have to overcomplicate this. I don't need to trust what social media is saying. I mean, the things that I get from people of what social media says, it's like giant face palm. I'm like, it's just so terrible. Some of the messages that we're getting, it's just all these scare tactics and
I
no. Ugh.
I listened to this will totally derail our conversation, so I just want to say this, but then open it as a consider as a door to maybe another conversation we can have. But I listened to this physician talk about GLP-1s, and it was a
Mm,
fabulous conversation. And it's kind of what you're saying. Like for a lot of people, the GLP-1 is a tool. It's a bridge from very deconditioned body, poor nutrition, to a healthier weight to then put in habits and behaviors that
mhm.
support the weight loss and that new kind of healthy way of living your life.
Yes.
So it's the bridge to get you there. And I'm not going to say whether I think that's the right approach or not, because there's lots of tools out there, whatever
There are,
tool
yeah.
you need to get you there. But the key is, like you're saying, is once you get there, is put in place and change the behaviors
Hmm.
to live a healthy life, to thrive,
Yes.
from
Yeah.
many different angles, not just being thin, but mental health, physical health,
Hmm.
relationships in your lives, all that kind of stuff. So I think that's
Yes.
interesting that you mentioned about and giving yourself some grace, because understanding that things happen it's not the
Yeah.
end of the
Things
world.
happen. Life happens. Yeah.
So
I did a somewhat recent episode just on GLP-1s, but um, the beauty of the profession that I'm in with nutrition, at least, is that we have the time. The physician does not have the time. That we can really dig into the habits and like
that's a
the
good point.
nuances of what they're eating, when they're eating, what's their motivation, how that waxes and wanes in terms of, like hunger versus, obviously you're not hungry after you eat, um, and various behavior changes. And I mean, there's solid research that shows that folks who are specifically on a GLP-1, if they work with a dietitian, they overall have better outcomes.
What do they do with their
Um,
outcomes?
that just overall better outcomes.
Oh,
Like
overall
they're
better outcomes.
losing more weight,
Yeah,
getting better, better numbers. And then once they come off of it, they're better able to maintain
maintain
it.
it. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I am not anti GLP-1. I know that this population tends to be very generally anti medication, but um, it's kind of like using fins when you're learning how to
Yeah,
swim.
it's a tool. We could look at it as a
It is.
tool,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
I see, where we're offices located within an aquatic center and the team that's in there. I mean, they have so many swimmers. And they're either the first or second team in the nation. They use fins all the freaking time. So,
Right.
it's like the right tool for the right job at the right
Right.
time.
Absolutely. And I
So,
think that, and I would love to have another conversation about it because it's interesting. I think anytime you're considering a tool, you need to think about, why you're using it, right? And so, if you're a ultra endurance athlete trying to like shed a few pounds, like, that might not be the best tool to use. But if
yeah.
you, have diabetes and, you really feel like you can't get to even wanting to go to a gym or go to a pool to exercise, maybe it is a good tool to use. So I think like and you've said this throughout our conversation, everything's very highly individualized.
It's totally
So I think that's
individualized.
the key.
Yeah.
It's just very individualized, whatever your
Yes.
journey you're on. Okay,
Yeah.
so I love our conversation. We just literally just jumped in. But I wanted to tell you that when I was looking at your website, and I always try to think about, what can my guest bring a little bit different to the conversation beyond just talking about performance and nutrition and I love that you have something that you created
Hmm.
called the Longevity Lab,
Yeah.
and that really piqued my interest.
Yeah.
Okay, and I would love for you to share with our audience what is the Longevity Lab, what's the philosophy behind it, and let's talk about that a bit.
Yeah. So we have really, really smart uh, and driven clients. And they always want, like, the best and latest and greatest. And let me try this and let me do this. And, the latest supplement on the market, or are they tracking the right data trends? And let's track that number because I saw that number on social media or on Strava or whatever. Um, so I saw the Longevity Lab. It originally started as more of like a nutrition coaching program of like,
Mhm.
how much protein do we need and how much hydration, like some of those types of things. But it has since evolved because we have the resources for it. We've got a metabolic testing facility, and we've got sports psychology, and we've got access to biomarkers. And it's like, why not put all these pieces together to hone somebody's path in that's more specific to them, that they're not managing in 10 different places of like, I get my labs done at Whoop, or and then I also do this other testing over here, and then I track my sleep here. And it's just such a great way to pull everything together, optimize specifically for the endurance, or for the individual, that also includes genetic testing as one of the tools, so that they specifically see what is necessary for them
That's
and
cool.
their goals, and what are the things that they need to track, so that they can sit back and enjoy life and not feel like, I mean, I get so many people they get the direct to consumer labs, and they're like, what does all this mean? This number's off. Like, am I going to die? I'm like, first of all, yes. Secondly, do you need
Yes,
to,
like we're all gonna die.
we're
Oh,
all going to
okay.
die.
Okay.
Like,
I was
that
like,
is
wait a second.
guaranteed, right?
Okay,
So,
let's take that off the table.
take that off the
None of
table.
us can
And
escape
usually
that.
that like pops their eyes out. They're like, wait, I am going to die. I'm like,
That's
yes.
funny.
Like, newsflash, you're going to die. But my goal, and I know that it's part of their intention too, is like, we love this sport, or we love being active. I don't care whether it's doing triathlon until you're 95 years old, or running or swimming or playing shuffleboard or pickleball or tennis or walking, or whatever it is that keeps you active.
Mhm.
We want to keep life in our years. So why does all this have to be so complicated? Of like, well, I'm trying this new supplement and that new supplement, and I keep my labs over here, and I don't know, this number's off, but like, should I care about it? And it's an opportunity to have a healthcare provider actually disseminate it down to information that's relevant to you, so that you know what to execute on, and can again just go enjoy life, and all that good stuff is running in the background. And then we run things again and see, okay, have things changed? So it's an opportunity to keep track, to track trends without getting overly obsessed with only caring about the right things that we need to care about, and then go have some fun. Like, it's all information that helps us know what is the best path for ourselves. Like, do you need to be recovering more? Do you need to be eating more cruciferous vegetables? Do you need to be taking extra vitamin D? So many of those things were just like, well, I take this thing because I heard it on social media, or I take this thing because I think I'm supposed to take it. And, this other book says I should, it's like, no, none of that. No, 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 no.
Mm,
Let's filter it down so that you know what you need to do for yourself, so that
that's
you can
incredible.
live a long and healthy life without overthinking it.
I feel like everybody should have an access to the longevity lab.
We've made it, I think we've made it very accessible and very affordable, because I've seen some other programs that are like $25,000 a year. It's almost like concierge medicine on like steroids. And
Mhm.
I just don't think we necessarily need someone something like that. Now, no shame on them if that's the route you want to go, but in my mind, nutritionists are the heroes of the healthcare world. That we're cheaper and we're also so much deeper into behaviors. So that if and when you go to the doctor's like, yeah, you're good. Have a nice day.
Hmm.
Or, oh, you broke your leg. We can fix that. Cool. So the model of medicine is more reactive and more disease based, and we can be more proactive using metabolic testing, using these very specific biomarkers, understanding your genetics, such that you can just sit back and do your
Hmm.
thing.
It feels like the future. It's amazing. Let me ask you right now, and I'll ask again at the end. If somebody's
Yeah.
interested in reaching out to you to find out more about just everything that you're about, your platform and the longevity lab, how do they do that?
Yeah. I mean, the Endurance Edge is the best place to
Okay.
go. And that's where they can find out about our triathlon coaching, our nutrition programs. And somebody might be like, okay, longevity lab sounds like kind of a lot. The way that we have mitigated that process is we do a 30-minute quick start nutrition consult. I'm licensed in a ton of different states, so able to support people in and I'm also very thorough, so they're like, do you ask me a lot of questions? I'm like, I mean, you and I could sit together and I could ask you those questions, or you could answer them beforehand, pay me less and get right to the point.
Hmm.
And that's a great, like, you know jumping point of, okay, is longevity lab for me, or do I just need to, like, clean some stuff up over here, or get some tests, or I get a lot of gut health stuff. I mean, there's a lot of different things that, and again, we need our own unique path. And then we have metabolic and sweat testing, and so lots of different avenues to work with us. Oh, we put on a triathlon. Sometimes
I was going
I'm
to ask you about that too, the triathlon. I
yeah,
was going to say that to
yeah,
the end, but just real
yeah.
quick, so it's the enduranceedge.com.
EnduranceEdge.com. And if they want to learn more about longevity specifically, it's enduranceedge.com/longevity. So we keep it
Okay.
simple. Yeah.
And Chris Newport, just to say your name again, if they
Yeah.
want to Google
Yeah.
Chris
Yeah.
Newport, the
Yep.
Endurance Edge.
Yeah. It should come up.
Um,
Yeah.
okay, go ahead. Let's just talk about this right now. And I hope I'm
Yeah.
not, are you still good to
Yeah.
keep going
Yeah.
a little bit? Because I
Yeah.
have, I have a
Lead
big
the way.
question. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Tell us about we talked about it before we started to record this race that the Endurance Edge and that
Yeah.
you hold every year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah,
how it
after
came
saying all
about.
those things, yeah, after saying all those things related to the Endurance Edge, I'm kind of like, we kind of have like five businesses in one. It's kind of insane, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Um, in COVID, we had so many people who were training for Ironman. They're like, I can't keep this up. I don't want to keep this up. So we decided that we were going to put on an Ironman race, and for like 6 or 7 athletes, we had a couple of them do what was our full, and a couple did halves, and a couple did a choose your own adventure. Like they did a 2.4 mile swim, and then they did a 56 mile bike, and then they did a 10K run. So and we had one of our guys who was in construction, and he was like, well, steel is stronger than iron, so why don't we just call ourselves humans of steel? I was like, that sounds great. And we sort
Men's of
of joked
Steel.
around about that. And a couple of years later, we noticed that this time of the year is sort of a sparse time for races. I mean, obviously it's hot, but we decided that we were going to make ourselves official, and so we got the name for Humans of Steel Racing. And to make it unique, because that's what we do, we have a reverse format. So it's run, bike, swim.
That's awesome.
Um, Partly to be different, and partly because I think way more people should be doing aqua bike, which is just swim. I shouldn't say just, it is swim bike, which is
Hmm.
still a big deal.
Hmm.
But they've had knee replacements, they've had hip replacements, they don't want to run, they can't run, whatever. Like, fine, you should still be able to play.
Right.
So with aqua bike, it's so anticlimactic that you swim and bike and then you just roll yourself right into transition and ain't nobody there with a medal, you're just like, and I'm done. And that was it. So this gives that population an opportunity to share in the glory of the finish line with
That's awesome.
everybody else. So, albeit, you're like dragging yourself up out of the water and like, get me to the end, but still somebody's standing there to put a medal on your neck.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter whether you did the sprint or the Olympic triathlon or whether you did the sprint or Olympic aquabag. We don't know the difference. We put a medal on you. So
When is that? When do you do that?
we this year it is August 2nd. So
August
we've
2nd.
historically done it. The first year I think we did end of August, and then I don't remember why we moved up to early August. But here we are. So it's hot, but it's a lot of fun and it's different.
How do you
So
sign up if somebody's listening and they want to do this race this year or
yeah,
future years?
humansofsteelracing.com, and that should bring
Humans
them
of
to the
Steel.
humansofsteelracing.com, and that should bring them. It's located in Harris Lake County Park, which is just south of Raleigh.
Okay.
So pretty easy to get to, whether you're flying in or whether you're driving, and um, it's a fun little area to have a little excursion and then do a little fun reverse weird crazy race. And we're USA Triathlon certified, so you get points for it.
That's
It's
cool.
cool. Yeah,
I know you've had the opportunity to, on your podcast, to
yeah,
interview some really interesting, remarkable athletes and human
yeah,
beings. And I just
yeah.
wanted to say that we both know Natalie Grabeau. Is that how you say your
Yes.
last name?
Yeah, yeah,
You had the
yeah,
opportunity to interview her. Not many people did. And I mean, I don't know that many people, how many
yeah,
podcasts she did, but I know
yeah,
she's been in the media a lot. But here's somebody that last year at age 80 competed at Kona World Championship
yeah.
and at age 80.
Got the
And I
world
think she's
record for the yeah,
world
for the
record.
oldest person to complete the world championship Ironman triathlon.
Well, first, congratulations on, having her on your show and giving her that
Yeah,
opportunity.
yeah,
You're the perfect host to have, given her that platform. And because I think you understand, like, how people get to those moments in their lives. I'm curious though, like with the Humans of Steel and all the athletes that you've coached over the years and having the opportunity to interview Natalie, is
yeah.
there some kind of silver lining or some thread that you see across people?
Across all the athletes?
Right. Is it enjoyment? Is it having fun? I don't want to lead
I
you in
think
that,
it's
but I like from beginners to then somebody like Natalie, like in your
yeah,
experience, because you have a lot of experience, more than me,
yeah.
like
I mean, she didn't start until her 50s.
it's incredible.
It really is incredible. I think those are some, I mean, no offense to all of the athletes out there who get into the sport, but I find that to be the most inspiring when people are like, you know what, I just hit menopause. Let's do a triathlon. I'm like, gracious. We had a guy 2 years ago who was turning 70 and he was like, I want to do my first triathlon. We're like, okay, let's go. Um, so I think there is a degree of curiosity when people start, like, oh my gosh, this seems really scary, but I think I have it in me to do this hard thing. And then once they get into it, and then if they stay into it, it becomes more of a lifestyle. It becomes like
Um,
training is just part of what I do, where I see it as the challenge is that training is what I'm supposed to do, where people get in trouble and
that's
then they
interesting
want to quit.
distinction. That's an interesting distinction.
Yes. So they want to
Training is
train and
what
they
I'm,
enjoy it.
yeah.
But when it becomes a job and when they become more isolated, because we talk about that in we've got accountability calls as part of our longevity lab. And we've had athletes who come on there and they're like, oh, I just feel like training is, I'm just on the trainer. Or I have this long run and my friends are going out for this shorter run. I'm like, no, 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 no. Like you need to have a conversation with your coach of if I'm going to stick with this and I want to stick with it, how can I have this beautiful combination of I'm doing this because I want to get better at it, but also I need the social aspect. I have to be with people. I can't be isolated. And if you're isolated, if you're just like if all you're doing is training by swimming on your own and sitting in your quote unquote pain cave, which is like the worst name for a place to train in, um, then I find that they don't get joy out of it at all, and then they're more likely to stop. So
You're the perfect guest for me to have on the show coming back from my conference.
yeah, sort of, is it giving you validation to all the things that you were?
I mean, it's like I couldn't have planned it. Like, we've never really talked before. We had like one phone conversation.
Yeah.
We've had, just our lives have been kind of, you know, missing
Yeah.
each other here and there.
Yeah.
Okay, let me tell you what you just said. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
So,
Hmm.
and here's a little teaser. I'm going to be on Chris's podcast and we're going to
Woohoo.
dive more into self-determination theory.
Yes.
But I think in August, I'm going to, if we can
Hmm.
make it work.
Hmm.
What
Yeah.
you just said, so self-determination theory says that we have three basic psychological needs that we all need to kind of flourish and to thrive: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. So what you just said about social isolation, right? When you're working towards something and you lose that sense of connection and you lose joy in it, and you're
You
most
do.
likely not going to stick with it long term. So
Yeah.
that sense of social connection is important. It's called relatedness.
Okay.
Com
Relatedness.
Relatedness.
Love
Competence
it.
is where you acquire the skills. You gave us so many examples of people getting into the pool, starting at the edge, blowing bubbles,
Hmm.
doing half Ironman, taking them on that journey where they gain confidence and become much more internally regulated, intrinsically motivated,
Yeah.
and feel joy in that process. And again, when you feel joy, the research shows most likely more long-term adherence to what you're doing. We talk
Yeah.
about somebody like Natalie at age 80. I mean, she still started at 50. That's still 30 years. That's a
Yeah.
long time to
Or
stick
like
with something.
56 or something like that. I
Yeah.
mean, she was, yeah, well into her 50s, I think.
So she's
And almost
experienced.
embarrassed that she couldn't swim. And then she was like, okay, maybe I need to figure this out, you know?
Well, and she experienced joy in
Yeah.
that process. And I want to come back to that with her 1 second. I
Yeah.
just want to say the last one, autonomy. And
Mm.
that's you discussed it in terms of your journey to getting here.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating. I love it. I feel like this really is understanding this in practice.
Yeah.
And for our listeners to learn for yourself, because I don't know there's no way Chris and I can know what you might be struggling with today. Maybe there's a goal that you've been thinking about forever and you haven't taken
Yeah.
that first step. Maybe
Yeah.
you feel more, your health is just not where you want it to be. So that's the whole point of this conversation. We are health
Yes.
promotion leaders. We want you to live your best life from the
Totally.
inside out. So that's
Yes.
really the point. One
Yeah.
more quick thing with Natalie, and I've shared this story with her and with you. At Eagle Man, June 2024, I was standing next to her before we were getting ready to swim. And I knew I was kind of standing next to this amazing human being.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was trying to recruit for my dissertation research, and I was like, Sarah, this she fit the inclusion criteria perfectly. I knew she was
Yeah.
older, she's a triathlete, and I was like, Sarah, this is not the right time. Like, hey, you want to be in my research study? Jumping into the water, right?
Right.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
I tried for a long time to connect with her. Just recently connect with her and had a wonderful email exchange. And she's just a remarkable person. So I wanted to
She
kind of
really is.
give
Yeah.
her a shout out
Yeah.
on this episode. So
Yeah. Definitely. I was so impressed by how, like, chill. She is. You
Yeah.
know, I feel like so many people are intimidated by triathlon because it's such a hard driving, or has the potential to be such a hard driving sport. Um, and she was just like, yeah, I just get up every morning and I eat my bowl of Cheerios with blueberries on it, and that's because I like it. I was like, can I call Cheerios and get you on the box? Because like you need to be like, it's like I don't really take any vitamins. I don't, whatever. But yeah, maybe some glucosamine, and it's just like, and I have these vegan friends who come over, and it's just so annoying to cook for them. I just thought it was like the funniest thing. And that's not a dig on vegans. If you are like, all honors for whatever path you go down nutrition wise. But I just thought she just tickled me so, I mean,
She's
she just
comfortable in
loves
her
it. And she's
skin.
just so committed to like,
Yeah.
I get up, I do my movement, I do my mobility, and I go on with
Yeah.
my day. I take care of my husband, and then I get a good night's rest, and I get up and do it all over again.
Yeah.
And she's just so committed to that, and she enjoys it.
Yeah. A lot of
So,
lessons there for all of us to learn.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Okay. I feel like we could talk for, we have so many common interests but
Yeah,
for the sake of our listeners, okay.
yeah, yeah.
I'm going to leave you with this question that we talked about when we started.
Ooh,
I'm going to let you have the final
okay.
word on all of this. And then we can continue this conversation perhaps when I join you on your show.
Yeah,
Um, and then, and if you want to continue to listen to Chris and I converse,
yeah,
we'll carry it on that episode. Okay.
yeah,
You ready for it?
yeah. I'm ready.
You know what it is, right?
I hope so, but I'm not. Listen. I'm a opposite. Let's go. Let's go. I'm
Okay.
a flexible kind of gal. Let's go.
Okay, Chris Newport, what are we training for?
Oh, you have to answer that question for yourself. I think we really need to dig deep into it's like me when I was 15. I knew that that was my calling. I knew that that was my purpose, and now being in it, it brings me so much joy. Like I just absolutely love it, and I think that I like to say be the match. Like strike the match, you light the fire, and then put it to something and it will just go wild. Like
Hmm.
you can share your journey, you can share that process with so many different people that you just don't even have any idea who you're impacting. And we are such powerful uh, entities in that respect, that if you, whatever it is you're doing, if you are training for triathlon, or you're you're momming hard, or whatever it is that brings you joy and that has brought you here for that purpose, charge on. Like that's it. Just live into it, and keep going, because the waves that you are made, like the fires you are lighting under people, you just don't even know the impact,
It's
which is so
awesome.
cool.
I guess I
Yeah.
should have said, literally and metaphorically, but
Yeah.
answered it that way. So
Yes.
that was great. Well, there you have it. So much wisdom. I love to have guests on such as yourself. I go back and I listen to these episodes often to
Yeah.
learn.
That's
I
really
encourage
cool.
our, I do, and I encourage our
Yeah.
audience to do the same. Um, I guess for my final thought in terms of like wrapping this all up, I think you said it so beautifully right in the beginning, and we didn't even plan it. And I love when that kind of magic happens. Like sometimes the view, like sometimes you have to spend a little time either on the top of the mountain or after you've climbed the mountain and just give yourself some time to reflect. Make sure
Mm,
you're doing these things because they are things that you enjoy. You're doing them for yourself. You're not doing them to please other people.
yeah.
And have fun. Go out there and live your best life.
Yeah. And whether that's sometimes a coach or a friend or a family member who is that person to like tap you on the shoulder and be like, check the view out,
Yeah,
you
don't do it.
know?
We're so much stronger together. I know
We
that's
are.
not my original statement. I hear it all
Yes.
the time on the Ironman platform, but it is true. We are stronger together when and you just said it, when you light that,
Like match. Yeah. Be the
yeah,
match.
that
Hmm.
energy, you just don't
Yeah.
know how you're going to impact others in the world. Okay,
Yeah.
before we sign
Okay.
off, it's the Endurance Edge
Yep.
.com. If you want
Yep.
the longevity lab, it's the endurance edge forward
Dot
slash
com / longevity. Yep.
longevity. Are you on
Yeah.
social?
You'll find it once you head to our homepage. You'll find it in there.
How about social media? People want to follow you on social media?
Yeah. Social media at the Endurance Edge. And our podcast is called Find Your Edge. So, which you should be able to, hopefully, you should be able to find it if you search for the Endurance Edge too. Um,
You
but
have
yeah,
you have
we're here.
you have a very successful podcast. I've seen it on YouTube. And you put out great content. And so it was an honor to have you on. And in a way, you're a mentor. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
And listen, everybody, thank you for joining us and tuning in to the PhD Journey Unplugged podcast. And thank you, Chris Newport, for being here today.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you.